Breitling.
Good morning. Welcome back. It is Friday, October 3rd. This is Tom, Global Time Traveler. Glad you could join me here today. What'd you think of that start? Did you like that?
You like that? You like that?
I like that. Anyway, so today we're going to talk about pilot watches and the characteristics of what makes, in my opinion, for a good pilot watch. There are certain criteria that are absolutely essential, that I call a must-have. Then there are some that are nice, but not really necessary. So we'll get through all of those details. The ones that we are going to talk about today are the Engelmann Wraith in 40 millimeters, the Zelos Eagle 2 Titanium, a Type B Flyer's watch, a Hanhart 417 ES chronograph, so pilot chronograph, a Hanhart Pioneer 1, it's more of a field watch, but I use quite a bit in flying, and then the Wise Flyboy FLB 15, another Type B Flyer. But before we get into all of those details, let's talk a little bit about where did the pilot watch come from. So at the turn of the 19th to the 20th century, as aviation was just burgeoning, at that time there was a Frenchman by the name of Alberto Santos Dumont, and he was one of the pioneers in Europe for both lighter than air and heavier than air, i.e. a fixed wing aircraft, for aviation. And as he transitioned from balloons into actual aircraft, gliders, and then into powered flight, he found that he didn't have the time to reach in his pocket, pull out a pocket watch, open it, check the time, and then re-stow it. So he spoke with Louis Cartier, and yes, that Cartier, who developed for him a specialized timepiece that he could wear on his wrist. And that led to what we have today, the Santos de Cartier, which is my son's favorite watch, wears it every single day. So that was the genesis of pilot watches. Obviously, during World War I, the trench warfare, field watches were very important, as well as the onset of actual air combat. In the Second World War, the Germans, the French, the British, and the Americans all came up with designs for quick and easy to reference timepieces that could be used both on the ground and in the air. So let's talk about some of the characteristics, in my opinion, that make for a good pilot watch, or a Flieger, or an aviator, whatever term one wants to use. First and foremost, it needs to be legible. I need to be able to glance down at that watch and immediately interpret and internalize exactly the time indicated to me. In aviation, we usually teach a 3-second cross-check, which means I can't be devoting any time to any single task longer than 3 seconds at a time. Within that 3-second cross-check, there are multiple pieces of information that I need to gather and interpret immediately. So glancing at a watch, I can't spend any time having to see that, whether it is through glare, reflection, distortions, or any distraction, perhaps on the dial itself. Additionally, it needs to be hackable. It needs to be accurate. As you'll see here today on the 5 watches that I have out, they're all within a second or so of each other. Second critical item is it has to be durable. That watch is going to get bashed around in the cockpit. So for me, I like ones that have case hardening. Now, one of my colleagues actually flies with a $60,000 Patek, which I find absolutely insane. And I mentioned to him one day, what if you scratch that? And his answer was, it will give it character. Okay, I guess you and I have a slightly different interpretation of the value of a Patek. But again, that's just my opinion. Thirdly, it needs to be anti-magnetic and it needs to be anti-shock. In a modern day aircraft, your exposure to electromagnetic fields is extraordinary. Now, it's not the same as getting into an MRI machine, but when you've got a high-powered radar that sits about 8 feet in front of you with a major back lobe going directly into your abdomen, that's a big exposure. So the watch needs to be anti-magnetic so that it doesn't get magnetized and now run inaccurately. And it also needs to have some anti-shock availability to it. As I said in the previous item, it's going to get bashed around. It is going to be subject to accelerations, both positive and negative, and some of those accelerations can exceed 7-8 G, and that's quite significant. Lastly, it does need to have water resistance. Now, it doesn't need to be a deep sea with 1,000 meters or more, but it does need to be resistant for when you're pre-flighting your jet and it's raining, okay? Whether you're in the airplane, it is above 50 degrees Celsius and you're sweating fiercely, or potentially there could be other liquids that get spilled in the aircraft. I'm not going to go into a lot of details on that. Let's suffice it to say, maybe it was your water bottle. Now, some things that are nice, but not necessary. Loom. I think some loom is important, but generally in the cockpit, even at night, you have a little bit of ambient lighting. Whether it's a lip light, a finger light, a chart light, there is some light in the aircraft. But a little bit of loom is good. But again, it's not a showstopper. I like having a rotating bezel because there are certain functions in the aircraft that I need to time, and it needs to be timed precisely. So I can rotate that bezel to the proper position so that when the second hand sweeps back through there, I can analyze and make sure that the timing was exact. That being said, a chronograph function is perfect for that. And to be honest with you, I really like wearing a chronograph in the aircraft, even though I only use it a couple of times and it's a little bit busy in terms of the dial layout, whether it's a bi or a tri-compact dial setup. But I do like wearing a chronograph, and I find that to be a very useful function to me. But again, not required. Lastly, there's a coolness factor. It's got to look good, but it also needs to be affordable. Let's start off today with one of my newer acquisitions. This is an Engelmann Wraith. As you can see, the elephant in the room looks an awful lot like a Zin. And it probably can be termed an homage because there are a lot of characteristics that are very similar to a Zin 857. However, let's treat this for the watch that it is. It's 40 millimeters by 12.4. It's 48 millimeters lug to lug. It has 20 millimeter lugs, so the bracelet can be changed out rather easily. It does have a hardening treatment that takes it up above 1,000 Vickers. It's 200 meter water resistant. It has a screw down crown, a screwed solid case back, and a ceramic 120 click bezel. Now, this bezel I find to be a little tight and a little bit loud. The knurling on the side is a little bit rough, but not too bad. But there are much better bezels out there. Now, it is extremely legible. We mentioned the solid case back with the quick release on the back. Extremely legible in that Type A classic Flieger look. It has a flat sapphire crystal with AR coating. Excellent lume performance on this, both with the indices, the markers, the hands, the second hand, and the bezel. Inside is a PT5000 automatic movement from China, which is an ETA 2824 design, and it's regulated to about 5 seconds a day. I put it on my time grapher and it's doing pretty well. Now, how long that remains there, I really can't say. However, it is anti-magnetic to over 1,000 Gauss. We mentioned the quick release spring bar, so I can swap it out for a leather strap. So here's my impressions of it. This is the most affordable watch on the list. Okay, it's about $270. It has excellent specifications. As we mentioned, the bezel is a little bit stiff. It's a little bit loud. That's not really a big issue for me, but it could be for some. Downside, the H-Link or I-Link bracelet feels cheap. Okay, that's just bottom line on it. It feels cheap. Though it looks like a Zin, it's not a Zin. It's a decent copy, but at the end of the day, it is a copy. So if budget is a limitation, this is indeed a viable choice. But if budget is not an issue, there are better choices available, in my opinion. Although, like I said, it meets all of the specifications that we're looking for in a pilot watch. Let's move on to the Hanhart Pioneer 1. Now this watch is a little bit more expensive than the Engelmann that we looked at. This one is about $1,000. Depending on where you are, where you purchase this and where you get it delivered, it may be subject to certain tariffs. Now this is really more of a field watch than it is a pilot watch. But to me, it's generally just about the same thing. There's not really an awful lot of difference there. Perhaps a field watch has a little bit better water resistance requirement than would a Flieger, but generally speaking, criteria for me are about the same. Now this one is 42 millimeters, 12.3 millimeters thick. It is fairly large, so it is 50 millimeters lug to lug. So it does fit fairly large on the wrist. Lug width is 22 millimeters. So it's a nice balance between the case size and the lug width. Doesn't look abnormally slender, but it is a fairly big watch. Now what's really pretty nice about this one is it is treated with the HD12 hardening system for Hanhart. So this is greater than 1200 Vickers in terms of surface hardness for scratch resistance and durability. It also has a proprietary Hanhart shock resistance treatment in it. I've worn this in the airplane and performance has been spectacular. This claims 300 meters of water resistance. And the site said screw down crown. But as I look at this, it's just a pop-out friction. I screw it and it's winding. So I'm not certain that that was accurate. Or it could be that I looked at the wrong piece of information. And believe me, that can very necessarily be the case. It does have a screwed down exhibition case back with a Sellita 200 automatic movement, Swiss made, regulated to about 4 to 6 seconds a day. This has a friction coin edge bezel that is bidirectional. It is anti-magnetic, although the extent of it is not specified. And again, it does come with a quick release spring bars, so you can swap that strap out. So impressions of this. This, as we said, is a classic Type A 3-hand field or flyer watch. It has rock solid legibility. It's a little bit pricey, but it is very solid German construction with a good quality Swiss movement. It has outstanding specifications. It's large. It's easy to read. It has a large crown that is easy to adjust, even wearing gloves. The bezel is a little bit loose in terms of that friction, but not bad. There are different colors available. They're all flat and matte finish to reduce the amount of reflection and distortion that one can get. And I find that this fits all the criteria with rock solid performance. This is a no fuss, dedicated tool watch. And in my opinion, this compares toe to toe with some of the other big German companies, whether it's Zinn, Laco, or Stoa. I think with the Hanhart, you will have made a really good choice. Let's move on to the first of our Type Bs. This is a Zelos Eagle 2 in titanium. It's 39 millimeter in diameter, 12.9 millimeters thick, 48 millimeters lug to lug, and has standard 20 millimeter lugs. This particular one comes on an FMK rubber strap, but it can be swapped out. Now this titanium case does have a hardening treatment that takes it to 1200 Vickers. So that's good. And it has kind of a really neat case milling or case design that hollows out that side portion, gives you a little bit of honeycomb etching on the inside, and looks pretty cool. And I find that nice angular contrast between the smoothness and the lugs is really good looking. It is fully bead blasted, so scratch resistance and durability will be excellent. It has a great big crown, so it's easy to adjust. 100 meters of water resistance, shock resistant. It does have a fixed bezel, has good solid lume, and it has a boxed sapphire crystal. Now there will be a little bit of distortion at the sides, but not much. I don't find that distracts at all. It has a illegible G100 automatic movement. Again, Swiss made, regulated about 4 to 6 seconds a day. And like we talked about before, that customized rotor looks like the fan blades in the face of a jet engine. Now the downside of this in terms of actual flying, it's got a beautiful dial. That teal multi-step dial is beautiful. However, because it is a sunburst, you do get some reflections from it. And therefore, that impacts legibility. And as we said, legibility was the number one criterion for what we're looking for in that pilot watch. Now, I will wear this in the airplane because it does look cool. It's a lovely watch. And once I'm in the airplane, generally speaking, I reference the digital clock that's on the display in the cockpit. I'm not really looking at my wrist very often. It's still relevant to have a watch, but again, I'm going to look at that GPS time. It's digital. It's easier for me to reference. It's right in front of my face. The anti-magnetism of this is not specified, so hard to really know. Anecdotally, it hasn't been affected. I haven't seen any change in performance having worn this in flight. Like I said, this is beautiful to look at. It has an excellent Swiss movement. It's decorated. It has 5 different colors available, all with unique designs and finishing from Zello. But this is not a no-fuss dedicated tool watch like we saw with the Hanhart. Would I fly with it? Yes, and I do. Would it be my first choice to recommend to someone else? No, it wouldn't. But irrespective of all of that, it's a really cool watch. This is the second of our Type B Fliers. And a Type B, if I didn't say so earlier, Type B basically has on the inner ring the hours, so the hour hand goes directly out to those indications, and the outer ring are the minutes. So just a slightly different display from a Type A. Now this particular piece comes from Thailand, 39.5 by 10.9, 46.5 lug to lug, 20 millimeter lugs, quick release. This is polished and brushed 904L steel in that case, a similar alloy to the oyster steel that you find in the crown. It is not hardened and shock resistance is not specified. If you look at that case, it is very nice and the polished elements are absolutely gorgeous. It does have a solid case back with a propeller embossed on it with that engraving, which is quite nice. The crown is a decent size. It's not huge, overly big, but it is grippable. It has good knurling on it, and it's very easy to adjust. As far as legibility, I think this two-tone color is absolutely fine. May not be quite as legible as we saw with the Engelmann in that stark black with white indicators, but I do find no issue whatsoever with being able to interpret this one. It has 100 meters water resistance, screwed down crown, screwed solid case back like we saw. It is a fixed polished bezel. The domed sapphire crystal does have anti-reflective coating, and as with most Wise watches, it has solid loon performance. Now this is a Miyota 9000 series automatic movement. This one is regulated to 8 seconds a day. It is not specified in terms of its anti-magnetism. But again, as I mentioned with the other watches, I have flown with this. I haven't seen any change in performance. So I do believe that is a portion of the design of the watch. Now my interpretations. This is a beautiful watch. I like the legibility. I like the matte finishing on the dial. Makes it very easy to interpret the time. I think it sacrifices hardening and scratch resistant to be able to say we use 904L steel and polish that up very brightly, which is great for selling a watch to the general public. For flying with it, I don't think that's an advantage because it is going to get scratched. It is going to get dinged. It has good specifications. As I said, I don't know the anti-magnetism rating. I don't know what mechanism it has for anti-shock, but as I said, anecdotally, it's been really good. It's easy to adjust. The loom is superb. It has a solid Miyota movement. There are 8 different models available, some with more classic color schemes. It's a nice watch, easy to read, good specs, but as we said, it will get dinged. It is a good choice for a Type B Flieger, and it is quite a bit more affordable than its German counterparts. That's somewhere around just under $700. Again, with tariffs and exchange rates, your number may vary. Here is the Hanhart 417ES flyback chronograph in reverse panda. Right up front, I'm going to tell you, I love this watch. Everything about it suits me for what I'm looking for in that Flieger type of watch. The size is perfect. 42 by 13.8. It's under 50 millimeters lug to lug. 21 millimeter lug width. It's got a standard 316 steel case, so it doesn't have surface hardening. However, it does have that proprietary Hanhart shock resistance that we talked about with the Pioneer. It is 100 meters of water resistance. Legibility is excellent, not too thick. Nice design, lugs flow very, very nicely. And you do have that Sellita hand-wound chronograph movement in the back that is modestly decorated with some striping. Looks nice. All right, as with the other Hanhart, this is a friction bezel. This one, though, is a little bit tighter. And I think this is a little bit better in terms of what I'm looking for in that adjustable bezel. Like we talked about, I can move that little red indicator to where I need it for when the second hand sweeps through. I know exactly how much time it has been and gives me that additional reference. This has a domed sapphire crystal with AR coating. It has excellent loom performance as all of those indices are cut from blocks of superluminova. We alluded to the Sellita 5100 hand-wound movement, Swiss-made flyback chronograph function, 4 to 6 seconds a day in terms of accuracy. Anti-magnetism on this is greater than 1,000 Gauss. And as we said, comes with quick release spring bars, so you can swap it out for a different look, or if there's a different material that you prefer. Now, interpretations on this particular piece. This is by far the most expensive piece on this list at around $3,000 US. So if budget is an issue, this isn't even a consideration for you. However, it has great specifications. The crown is a little bit slim for use with gloves, but I find with the knurling, it's absolutely fine. It has that rock solid Swiss movement. Multiple sizes are available. It's available in 42, 39, and it has multiple different black and white color schemes on both sizes. So the choice is excellent. Now, as far as downsides, some people may prefer an automatic movement versus a hand wound. I'm not fussed. I don't mind hand wound movements. Automatic is a little bit more convenient, clearly, but there is some satisfaction in winding a mechanical watch. Now, the polished portions of the case may get scratched because it doesn't have that surface hardening. However, bottom line, if budget is not an issue, this is a great choice for a flying watch. It hits all the criteria with the exception of the surface hardening with absolute honors. This watch I highly recommend as a very functional tool piece, and it looks good too. So we've looked at 5 different watches today. Now, very clearly, a Flieger and a field watch is a very popular model across the entire industry, so there are many choices that one could make. In terms of some other great brands and models, clearly you've got the big Germans, the Sinn, Laco, Stowa. You've also got Hamilton. And in terms of digital watches from Japan, a Casio, G-Shock, or even a Timex. So of these watches, which one of these is my favorite? Well, I think what I already said was the chronograph fits things that I want absolutely perfectly. However, all of that being said, if you want to ask me what is my favorite flying watch of all time, and this may surprise, may even disappoint a few, It is this. My Timex Expedition. I used to buy these from the BX on the base for about $30, and I'd go through one about every 5 years or so. Never having to change the battery, never having to do anything to it. It is instantly legible. It's durable. It's shock resistant, water resistant, down to 100 meters. It's accurate to single digits every single month. The greatest difference between atomic clock time and what my watch was showing was usually about 2 seconds in a month. So it is perfect. Doesn't need winding. The battery lasts for years. It offers a dual time, a chronograph function, multiple alarms, a countdown timer. It does have Indiglo Lume on demand. It lights up for about 2 to 3 seconds, illuminating the entire watch. And it's affordable. I mean, it really can't be beat. This particular watch, I probably have about 500 hours of flight time. I wore this for the final years of my flying career until about maybe 2.5, 3 years ago when I got into mechanical watches. So I know that may disappoint some, but this cheap, disposable, quartz digital watch serves all of those Flier functions absolutely perfectly. Now, it's not cool. It doesn't look great. It's not going to score points with buddies, but in terms of a functional tool watch, it hits the mark. Thanks for joining me here today. I had a good time. I hope you got something out of this. I know it went a little bit long. There were a lot of watches to talk about, a lot of details to cover, but I hope that it was informative and enjoyable, and it certainly was for me. So until next time, I hope that everyone is well, be happy, be healthy, take care of the ones you love, and be kind. And I'll see you on the next episode. Cheers.
All the time.